All right, guys. So I'm sitting here with April, and we just wanted to talk and share a little bit about kind of the conversations we always get into when we're working out together or in between classes or after meetings. And we kind of just share a lot of the same perspective on how we should be training, but it comes from the same kind of history of how we got into CrossFit, how we kind of got injured and burned out, and then how that shapes how we train ourselves now, but also how we try and get you guys to work out. So we'll just kind of start with how we got into CrossFit, when that was, and we'll go from there. So when did you find CrossFit?
I found CrossFit in graduate school, 2012. I was writing my thesis and all I did was sit and eat popcorn. I would go to the movie theater and buy popcorn from the movie theater and drive home and eat it and eat chocolate candies. And I gained a lot of weight, obviously. Have been athletic all my life.
And you played volleyball
I played
mostly?
volleyball, and then I swam competitively. And then before graduate school, I did a bunch of half marathons and triathlons and rode my bike and things like that. So I had a fitness background. I just didn't have time, or I wasn't making time to stay fit. I had other priorities. So I realized I'd gained weight. All my friends lied to me. They said I looked great. And then one day I was like, this is a big lie. So I noticed there was an obnoxious person on Facebook, and this is 2012 when Facebook was it. And she was posting all these things. She was in some dingy, like, terrifying looking building, and she wasn't wearing a shirt, and she was like, there was like a guy always next to her with a clipboard, like yelling, and I was like, I want to do that. So I Googled, actually I didn't Google, I was on a run, and they had just built a CrossFit in front of my house. They repurposed this warehouse. I went in, the first day, there was no foundations, there was no, this is CrossFit.
Yeah, because back when we got into CrossFit, that's what it was like, just barely coming up.
Yeah,
no one knew anything.
Nothing.
At that point, some people were figuring out, but generally CrossFit gyms were, it was kind of, it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. I walked in at the 5:30 a.m. class. The guy was probably super pumped that someone was coming in. Class was, I remember, burpees, box jumps, and rowing. I've never seen a rower somehow. Box jumps I remember from like 11th grade, and burpees I'd never heard of. So, but he told me that, you know, it was like me and 3 or 4 other people, that the workout was X, Y, and Z, and we're going to do it as fast as we can all together. And I was like, I don't even, that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
I'm going to come here for the rest of my life because of that little bit of competitive nature. And I actually thought, because I had all this experience running and doing these triathlons, and I had good endurance from swimming, so I thought, I was like, oh, I'm going to whip everybody's ass. And I left CrossFit with bleeding blood on my knees from scraping my knees from burpees because I got so tired and would like flop down. And I was hooked. And I think I've worked out every day outside of like being sick and going on trips since that day.
Yeah, so and that's kind of the evolution of a CrossFit gym. Is back then, and that's kind of why we opened this gym in the first place. Is Blake and I got into CrossFit in 2008, and then as we started visiting CrossFit gyms, we were like, these people don't have a clue what they're doing.
Right.
It's like they're crazy.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But these coaches don't have a clue. So that was our general sense, and that's what made us feel like we have to open a gym because we can be so much better than what these gyms are being.
Yeah,
but that was kind of just in general, that's what most of the gyms were like. But that's also what we love about CrossFit. So we love just going hard, having fun, the competitive aspect of it. But kind of what we've found along the way is we both got into it the same way of going hard, dealing with injuries all the time. And now we've finally gotten to the point where we're past all of that. We're still getting better. So we still get to compete and have fun in CrossFit, but we're not having to deal with all of these injuries all the time.
Yeah, I was hurt from 2000. I give myself 6 months to like get worn out after that initial experience. But I was hurt from middle of 2012 to 2017.
Yeah.
Constantly.
I
2 different surgeries, and
always... So real quick, when did you join us as a coach here?
I began working out here January of 2017.
Okay.
And that's when everything changed for me.
And then a lot of our conversations since then has influenced how we run everything in the gym, but also our own training.
For sure.
And it was really cool to see us be able to support each other in this. 80% of your workouts are for quality, 20% are testing, and make that shift, and then have the confidence to be like, look, if it's working for me in April, this is absolutely going to work for everybody else.
For sure.
What types of injuries have you dealt with?
I started with lower back pain from the get-go. In fact, I was like 27 or 8. I can't do the math right now, when I started. And before that, I threw my back out every quarter, I would say, taking out the trash. And I was in college, and I am hobbling around school with a lower back problem. During college, I waited tables, and I would be having to call in sick, can't lift things, because probably was lifting things very wrong. But so I started with a lower back problem that never went away, ever.
And then just to tie my experience in, my whole life up until about 3 years ago, I dealt with back pain. And I thought it was from golf and an injury I had growing up and all of these things. Once I got into CrossFit, I was dull, achy, but then once a year, bad. I hurt my back about 3 years in a row, bad. And then it wasn't until we finally figured out how to brace, which sounds ridiculous, and how to prioritize proper movement in workouts, that went away. I don't deal with that stuff anymore, and we kept getting better and better and better without weight belts and stuff.
The lower back pain turned into, a couple years later, my back was always hurting. I would throw it out really bad trying to max a deadlift, and I would throw it out walking Dixie, picking something up. It didn't matter.
Same experience. 5 rep max deadlift, threw it out. Coming down from a muscle up, threw it out. Picking up a stick from a parking lot, threw it out.
That turned into a hernia. So I had an umbilical hernia, which is where your stomach lining rips apart and your guts come out of your belly button. So my guts were hanging out of my belly button at CrossFit. So, but I was going for, the workout was it was the open in 2014, and it was box jumps and deadlifts 155 pounds, which was beyond my max deadlift, which is kind of cool to think that I could definitely deadlift that a bunch now. But my coach at the time
So what's your deadlift-ish now?
Probably 275.
Cool.
So my coach at the time told me I had to do the open, because you have to. And that I had to there was no scale back then, so I was doing box jumps, and I was wearing this big leather belt, and I didn't even know what the belt was for, but he was like, put this on, and, do the deadlifts, and I'm like, I hate this. And I knew I hated it, but I wanted to look cool, and I wanted to win, and I was gonna win. I couldn't lift it, 3 deadlifts in of, barely getting it up with this horrible form. Something, happened in my stomach, and I looked down, and my belly button is different. And I pushed it back in, and I did stop the workout, but I pushed it back in, and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I kept working out the rest of the week, for sure. And then finally, when I couldn't push it back in anymore, I went to the doctor. This is really stupid. I would never do this.
Like one of those squeeze dolls where the eyes pop out and you just keep...
I went to the doctor, and he was like, oh, yeah, you have a hernia. And he said it was going to be an easy fix, pulling a tooth, no big deal. So I had surgery 3 days later, and it was the worst thing I've ever done. They cut through your muscle, through your stomach, and sew it up. And I was hunched over.
You're making me queasy.
For 5 weeks, I couldn't straighten out my torso. So I rested for 5 weeks. I would walk. I would try to speed walk so that my cardio would stay, intact and all this. And I remember on the day, 5 weeks plus 1 day, I had to make sure I could still do a kipping pull-up. So I hop up and do it, and I was like, okay, I can still do one. And then I just started working out. But I still had this weird nagging pain, obviously from major surgery. So that was experience number 1, which did not slow me down. I was like, okay, we're good.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
Because we're athletes. We've been athletes our whole lives, and it's like you get hurt and you deal with it.
And I was not 30 yet. Also, I think I was still like, oh, this is like, we'll fix it and move on.
Yeah.
My doctor did say, he was like, well, a lot of people have these holes in their stomach lining, which now, if you brace properly, you can avoid your guts coming out of them. But I was like, oh, it was born that way. This is like fine.
And then if we had to guess and just put a random number on how many people we think, not just in CrossFit, in yoga, in boot camps, in all sports, how many of those people brace properly? It's got to be 1%.
Very few.
Because no one cares.
I never heard of bracing.
Exactly.
In fact, the coaches that I, at the gym would just yell at me to get tight.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't know, get tight like with my arms, or what do you even mean? But I was too worried about asking what you meant, and I don't think they knew. Well, I
think that's the thing. And so that's what we tell everyone who comes and does an intro with us, and it's like, if we never see you again, whoever you talk to next, ask them what get tight means, and if they can't answer that question, they shouldn't be your coach.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of people, because we've interviewed a ton of coaches to find you, to find our other coaches on staff, and it's amazing the answers I get, and people are like, oh, I like to push them, and however they flex, I tell them that that's the way you flex, and it's like, well, if they have the wrong motor pattern, they're going to flex incorrectly. So just because they know how to flex things in the area, that's not how you get tight.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So I recovered from that. Could still do kipping pull-ups, whatever entered into competitions, RX. I look at photos, sometimes things pop up and I'm like, oh, my soul is hurting and my scar from that hernia. Well, that developed into, this was 2014 or 15. 6 months later, I tore something in my knee from going too hard. I was into all those marathons and triathlons and stuff, and so I would run this was before CrossFit, but I would run 15 miles because that's what the list said I had to do. And if you've seen me run, we've worked a lot with my running technique, which is, it's much better, but I was running really horribly bad. So I wear my knee out, and then I'm going 1,000% every single day, extra workouts, and then my knee just explodes. Yeah. Surgery number 2. Didn't slow me down, because I had surgery, and I remember hobbling. At this point, I was hobbling to the gym, and I would just stick my leg out to the side and do kettlebell swings with the rest of my body, and do pull-ups and just get build myself some stairs. Not that you shouldn't rest, because the pull-ups and all that upper body stuff was great. I got really strong.
And you get blood flow to the area, but it's still funny to think about. The thought hadn't entered your head yet. It's like, well, I might be doing something wrong. Right. But we're having too much fun.
Yeah, it was so fun. Yeah. And it was like, oh, I bought those knee wraps. So I put knee wraps on, and I'm pretty much, and I don't think I had turned 30 just yet. And
we probably get an email a week from knee sleeve people emailing the gym about, hey, sell these there. Yeah. And it's just it's so common in the CrossFit and weightlifting world to wear those knee sleeves.
Yeah. But I was like, I'm going to win the nothing games, because I wasn't going to the CrossFit games, but I wanted, I don't know what I was trying to fulfill, but I wanted to be the best, and I was making myself the absolute worst. Yeah. For sure.
So you better today than you were back then?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Stronger, fitter. More mobile, less pain.
Way more mobile. I remember during that knee, I recovered from my knee surgery, which didn't stop hurting until the middle, maybe the end of 2017, which is just recently. Yeah. I was working here. Once I figured things out. But I recovered from that, and again, the open showed up, and I had to do the open, and there was no scaled, and it was overhead squats, and my overhead position was so bad, but I had to do it, and I'm cranking myself down into this horrible overhead squat with my knee was hurting so bad, and I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, it's just get through the workout. Just get through the work.
Do it.
Go through the pain.
So yes, I'm better, more mobile. Mobility's great, and I do 20% of I spend 20% of the time I was spending then now.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think that's the hardest thing, because it's like what we're most passionate about is working with brand new people and trying to get brand new people as fit as possible, injury-free, looking good, everything you've always wanted, what we wanted when we started.
Yeah.
And to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, it's not less fun to do it our way.
For sure. It's fun.
Yeah. And then our other thing we're passionate about is taking burnt out, injured CrossFitters who love it was us. We loved
it.
CrossFit. We love everything about being in the gym, being with people, working out with people. But it's not worth getting out of bed and having to warm up to walk to the bathroom is stupid.
Yeah, I would do every day.
Every day, same here. And we're dealing with crap all the time. Now it's like I feel great all the time and I'm better than I used to be. So it's just so hard for when we get CrossFitters from other gyms in here, and it's so hard to convince the new people that watch like behind the scenes at the CrossFit games. They watch these people go hard. It's so hard to convince them that go hard once a week, make it look good. That doesn't mean you're not going hard. You're just prioritizing skill and technique over everything else.
Yeah.
And it's like you get so good.
You get so much better.
Your body, like my body composition changed because I'm actually flexing muscles the way that they're supposed to be flexed. It's just everything changes.
Yeah.
Everything changes. Yeah, I dealt with shoulder injury after shoulder injury after shoulder injury, back, ankle stuff, and you would just hide it. It's like your back would start hurting, and now we have a weight belt we
easy.
put on.
Just put the belt on real tight.
And then 3 months, and then you put it on, you're like, this is awesome.
It is, I mean,
and then a rib gets shoved into your side around the weight belt, and then you got to go find whatever the member is who's the physical therapist at the time and be like, I need your help. It's like something, or the hurt, it's like, you just can't hide problems like that.
No, can't.
So then what are the biggest mistakes that we see in classes?
So I think that something really cool happens in your brain and you feel really awesome when you work out. And so I think people have...
And when you crush yourself.
And when you crush yourself. Because I still feel that way when I crush myself and I enjoy it. But I have to actively make myself remember why I'm here. I don't, in my head, I'm like, if I were a superhero, my superpower would be to crush workouts every day, but I know that is going to make me worse. So it's definitely a choice. It's not like, I'm just going to go slow today or whatever.
So what goes wrong when you crush workouts every day?
Oh, then you are worse at all of the workouts.
Because your technique your intensity gets higher and higher and higher, and you get more and more fit, but your technique can't catch up.
Technique can't catch up.
And so then you're dealing with the injuries, but then also you can't be good without technique.
Right.
You cannot support the amount of weight that we so desperately want to throw around because it's fun and you want to show off to everyone. You can't support that weight without really good technique.
No, you can't. And I didn't figure that out until I slowed it down and chose one day a week where I was going to completely crush myself. And then the rest of the time like you said, I do go as hard as I can.
Yeah, you still get crushed, but it's just a completely different purpose. So when you're doing reps, it's like, I'm going as hard as I can with my belly button drawn in. Or with my shoulder, creating that external torque. And 100% of the focus is there.
Yeah.
So it makes you go, like, technically score-wise a little slower.
Right.
But it's not easier.
No, in fact, I always surprise myself, and I'm like, you're really good.
Yeah.
I went way further than I thought I was, probably because my technique I was thinking so much about it versus, like, I gotta get 10 more whatevers.
Yeah.
I think your original question was what do people do?
Yeah.
Yeah, they get excited because it feels good. It's really cool to win.
Yeah.
And people prioritize the weights over their technique. Almost, that's probably the number one thing, is they see so-and-so doing such and such, or they see what the workout is written, whatever weight, 30%. 30% is very light. 150 pounds is 30% for someone, but not for that person. And they pick that weight, and then they have bad tech. They have not great technique. It's too heavy. So then several things happen. You don't get a very good workout.
Yeah.
You don't win.
Yeah. Because now the weight versus the number of reps you're doing, that combo is off to get you the maximal results.
Right.
And it's too heavy for your technique.
Uh-huh.
Or at the very least, even if your technique is good enough to handle that, it's too many reps at that weight.
Right.
And you're not getting as good as you could have gotten by either taking the reps down and using the heavy weight to scale it in that way,
right.
or to do the weight that is actually prescribed at 30%,
right,
and then doing those reps.
Yeah, because you're doing like the stimulus of the workout, like you said, is not the workout if you're going slow and real heavy. So that's what I see most of the time. The other thing is it's fun to win. So little things start happening when you're with a bunch of people and you want to be first. And I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
I like to win stuff, but you start cutting a couple things short technique-wise, and if you don't stand up all the way on a jerk 100 times in one day and then 100 times the next week, you're getting that much worse.
Yeah, you're missing out
on that strength part of it, and then developing that technique. And so then you, not only do you learn wrong how to do whatever movement, you're not getting stronger in those positions, and then you're ultimately not winning, even if a couple of times you might have gotten ahead by sort of sneaking those in.
And that's kind of the weird part of the business we're in. It's because the way you would do things to compete in CrossFit is different than what you would do to train using CrossFit methodology for volleyball or playing with your kids or just being healthy and to compete in CrossFit every now and then.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the camp we're in.
Yeah.
Is we want to feel good, we want to be really fit, but we don't train like competitive athletes.
No.
But we have fun once in a while joining a local CrossFit competition.
Yeah, definitely.
So you want to be able to develop the skills required for that, but also that is less than 1% of our lives.
Yeah.
And we want our training to make sense for the rest of it too.
Yeah, if my joints are hurting riding my bike, then something's wrong.
Yeah.
If I'm, being sore is different, but if I'm like in pain and I'm so exhausted that I can't even ride my bike, then something's going on. And that's how it used to be. I could not even do anything other than...
Yeah, it was purely... And I remember people would invite me to go play volleyball or something, and I'd be like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's going to affect my training.
I would say
and it's like, I didn't even compete, really. Yeah. It's like, what the hell?
I would say, and I've said this to you, and this was like at the beginning of the turn, I was like, I don't play volleyball because I'm going to hurt myself. And you were like, what? Okay. But it's true.
Like, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything outside of the gym because it's going to affect our inside the gym.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just completely backwards.
Yeah, it's silly.
But anyone who's gone hard, been injured, gotten burned out, we've all gone through that.
Right.
Where we're putting the emphasis and priority on the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
And then it makes for a pretty sad life, because then once you start realizing that nobody else cares what your back squat is, and it's really fun and to keep pushing the numbers up, but ultimately, why are you unless you're a professional, don't dedicate your whole life to a back squat number. No,
and I realized it. I joined a book club, and all these book club people didn't work out. Yeah, and I remember thinking, like, there really is more. These people don't care if I squat 250.
Yeah.
And there was so much more to life. And I'm like, I could still be really healthy and have a lot of fun, but I could also go to book club and, like, nobody wants to know about my workout. And it's nice.
And if you're squatting 250, what it takes to get to 275 takes up your whole life.
Your whole life.
And what's the difference of 250 and 275? For people who aren't professionally competing in CrossFit, nothing.
You're not.
There's no difference.
No more friends. No more money. No more anything. Yeah. Nothing's gonna happen. Except you're gonna be exhausted and maybe. Yeah. This is gonna take up your whole life.
So I think, and I'm sure you had a similar experience, but every time I got hurt, you have a month or more of now you got to rethink life.
Oh yeah.
And it's like. You go through that like depression of I can't do the things I'm used to doing and I enjoy doing, and you go through the why am I doing this? And then you start blaming CrossFit, and you're like, CrossFit is stupid, it causes this, blah blah blah, and then finally after we got hurt enough, we finally got to the point of maybe there's nothing wrong with CrossFit. It's how we're doing it.
Right.
And we're acting like every single day is a competition, and every day our score matters. And when you make it one day a week, your score matters. You have just as much fun. That one score is better than it would be if you're going hard every time anyway. But it fits what most people's goals, and most people want their life to be so much better.
Yeah, I would say so.
So I think the hardest thing we deal with is when we have our members, it's really easy to have these conversations with them, and over time wear them down into our way, and then they skyrocket.
Yeah.
And that's super cool to see. So what we deal with is we get the out-of-town people who come in, and they're from a different CrossFit gym that hasn't seen the light. They haven't figured it out yet, and they're still old school. You go, 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 go. And then those people get thrown into the mix here, and they're just such a terrible example for our members. But the thing we always see is like the people who tend to drop in from out of town, not all of them, but most of them tend to be really, really fit. So they're all big and strong.
Yeah.
Girls and guys are all really fit, just because I guess if you're traveling and you're going to drop in at a gym, you're probably prioritizing exercise pretty high.
Yeah.
But what we see all the time is it doesn't matter in our gym how long you've been a member here. If you knew nothing about who's a member and who's not a member, you can spot the out-of-towners within 3 reps. And you can just look over and you're like, that person's not a member of the gym. That person's not a member of the gym. And the thing we know is that they're absolutely at a plateau. They've been they're really fit and they look good. I'm positive they're dealing with injuries, and they've been at the same level for 4 years.
Yeah.
And our people keep getting better and better and better without the 2 hours a day of working out, just with our regular 3 to 5 classes a week for an hour. So what do you do for your workouts? Do you do your own programming?
No, I come to class.
Yeah, that's what I do.
I
go to class.
I have a personal schedule, but I like to, the reason I joined CrossFit, well, it was a lot of fun and I got to meet friends. So I like to work out in class, and I go 5 times a week, sometimes 4, depending, on the week. But I just go to class. I don't do anything extra. I enjoy riding my bike, but I listen to music. And I don't ride it.
Nice and easy, like recovery.
Yeah, but I don't even consider it exercise. Or, I don't schedule that in for
it's one step up from sitting on the couch.
Really, because the bike is
you're doing something.
Yeah.
But it's not like a work. It's like a long, slow, steady state heart rate.
Yeah, like walking.
Workout.
Going for a walk and listening to a book or something.
Yeah.
So, I just go to class. Used to do special programming that I found online that took 3 hours with an additional squat or some sort of pressing program, which took another 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's almost 4 hours a day. If I had to work out for 4 hours...
Yeah, it's crazy. It better be your job if you're doing that.
Yeah,
because if it's not your job, and it's just or you better be working out for 4 hours with a group of 15 people that are your closest friends in the world.
Yeah, then maybe.
But if you're working out for 4 hours alone, it's you better be a professional, and if you're not, you got to rethink it.
Yeah, so I had to reevaluate because I was working out alone. And it was, looking back, it was really sad.
Yeah.
That's not CrossFit. That's not why I started CrossFit, to work out by myself.
So you're doing 4 to 5 classes, which is 4 to 5 hours a week. And 3 to 4 out of the 4 out of 5 are prioritize quality. Not take it easy. It's not take it easy. It's just prioritize quality over intensity.
Yeah.
And so... on the surface, the amount of work me and you do on a weekly basis is equal or less than most CrossFitters at gyms.
Definitely.
And I would put our skill and fitness we're not professionals, we're not even close, but I would put it at a very high advanced level. a level that most of these people would love to be at. And they work so much harder than us, and they've worked so much harder than us for years. And it's amazing that they're not there. And it's just because it's just completely backwards. So, yeah, I think our biggest advantage is, one, we've learned the lessons the hard way. But we have the right priorities and right mindset when we're working out, know when to go hard and know when not to go hard. But we've also worked really hard on the lifestyle part of this, which is all working out makes you actually worse, and it's your recovery that makes you better.
Right.
So sleeping, nutrition, all of these things, mobility, getting flexible, all of those things contribute a ton to getting to those next levels also.
Definitely.
So what types of lifestyle things, and maybe not, I know we're both doing the Transform program at our gym right now, which is a little more intense than our regular life. So let's just talk about like our regular life. What are the things you've changed outside of the gym that you think have had the biggest impact on your body, your performance, everything inside the gym?
The number one thing that I have changed is the amount of sleep I get.
Yes.
That's
just,
if you are
go to sleep right now.
If you are friends with me or have any closeness in my life, you know that I cannot stay up very late and will fall asleep. If I had it my way, I would go to bed at like 7:15 at night.
And you got me onto him, but there's this guy, Matthew Walker. He's been doing TED Talks. He's done a Joe Rogan. He's done a Rhonda Patrick podcast. He's all over the place now. And listening to him talk about the importance of sleep, it's recovery, but it's health. He also talks about how it's like the number one indicator of loneliness. So it's like if you get in, it's not, sorry, this is a huge tangent, but anyway, I just listened to the Rhonda Patrick one where he's talking about this. But if he's not talking about like sleep deprivation in like hours, he's talking about tens of minutes. And it's a huge indicator on if you yourself perceive yourself as lonely the next day, or if other people perceive you as lonely. So it's like, as far as recovery, sleep messes with your hunger hormones, your stress levels. It's everything. Your cancer fighting cells, I think it's like 70% of your cancer fighting cells are turned off the next day if you get less than 5 hours of sleep. Like sleep is everything.
Sleep is everything. And I came from a lifestyle before CrossFit, working at CrossFit, with this, I was in academia, and it was very competitive in terms of like, it's just very competitive, just like any, probably what most people deal with is competitiveness at work. But it was competitiveness in the wrong way of like, I slept 3 hours. I would spend the night.
People are proud of this.
I would sleep in my office frequently. I would have an extra pair of clothes, a little bitty pillow in my like drawer, and I would sleep all the time in my office. And not the kind of good, like, I'm going to lay down for a few minutes after I ate lunch. Like
stressed out sleeping.
It's nighttime, and I have not gone home. And it's now the next day, and I'm going to change clothes and brush my teeth in the sink. At work. And so I came from that to having a little bit different of a schedule, but I still lived on this, like, I'm going to go to the 5:30 class, and then I'm going to work out for 4 hours, I'm going to do this and that. And then people want to do things at night, and I'm going to stay up and do all this. And then finally I gave in and gave up and, like, listened to my body and went to bed. And, you know, would wake up at like, whatever time, you know, sometimes you have to get up at a certain time, which is fine. But I would go to bed at night early. Like,
because the minimum is 7 hours. And you should be getting 8 to 9 probably. And in that specific podcast that we were talking about, Matthew Walker, he said that sleep is the number one free performance-enhancing drug, and that was like... And it's as soon as you start getting enough sleep, there's no, like, you start taking fish oil, and you're like, oh, I guess this is doing something for me, and you've got no clue. You're just like, I've heard you're supposed to, I do it, can't tell it. Sleep, you tell a difference in me. One day, you'll tell a difference.
For sure. And the hunger, part, if I don't get enough sleep, and usually, and that's the thing is, like, I now get enough sleep most of the time to where if I don't get enough sleep one day because I have a lot to do or, like, something crazy is going on, it's okay. Yeah. I'm not a monster. I feel like...
And we need to be able to handle being hungry.
Right.
And not having... We don't want to live perfect lives. Yeah.
But it's not, like, at a detriment to where I was always running on 5 hours or less. Now it's like, oh, I got 5 hours of sleep. It's cool. I'm going to go to bed tonight and everything's going to be fine. And, you know... But, yeah, you can tell immediately. Immediately. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm hungry. I'm, like, starving. Cranky. I can't, like, see as well.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's just...
Sleep, it's the easiest. And when you talk about results and, okay, we've got exercise. Everyone in here, they're exercising. They're doing fine. So how come everyone in here is not getting the results that they want? It's because this is one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So we need non-exercise activity, so 10,000 plus steps a day, doing mobility, movement, just staying active, sleep and nutrition. Out of those 3 additional things you can do, sleep's the easiest.
Sleep. And, like, sleep will what's the word I'm looking for? Sleep will, like, begin the effect of, like, now you're going to be into a routine. So because I go to sleep at night at the right time, I have a tendency to eat dinner at the right time and eat something good versus being, like, in a hurry or I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner because I have a routine because I'm going to go to sleep, I'm going to eat dinner, go to sleep. And then I wake up and then I eat breakfast and it just kind of falls into place a little because I prioritize that. I'm not confused about when I'm going to bed. I'm not confused about what I'm having for dinner. I mean, there's a choice of, like, this for dinner or that for dinner.
And, just with all the hormone support and how full you feel and hungry you feel and how your body is metabolizing food, it's just like sleep supports all of that.
Yeah.
So if you change all of your nutrition habits, which is really hard to do, absolutely worth doing, really hard to do, and you haven't changed the sleep, you're just crawling uphill and, like, burning sand. It's so hard.
It's hard, and folks who have these little nagging injuries could be from, like we were talking about, going hard all the time, but then they're like, I'm gonna go to yoga class, or I'm gonna do all this mobility, and mobility is great, but none of that matters if you're not getting enough sleep. If you're sleeping for 4 hours and you're going to yoga for whatever reason, spending an extra hour, or doing all this stuff, it's like, you gotta relax, go to bed on time, then eat the right things, and then something will get better with that. So that's the thing I changed most.
Yeah, sleep.
Yeah.
And
I love going to
bed. I don't think we can say it enough. It's the easiest thing to change because it's not like you have to force it. You're not lazy. It's not like you're going to lay down and just be like,
no,
fine, I have to sleep for 8 hours. It's like you're going to do it and your body's going to be like, thank you. Jeez, I've been trying to get you to do this for 5 years. And now it's like, once you get into it too, it's just like, it looks like sleep may be the leading cause of cancer, dementia. It's like, you name it. I think the coolest stat I heard from Matthew Walker again was they have a experiment twice a year that everybody does, and it's daylight savings time. And the percentage of heart attacks goes up by 25% the day after we get, everyone generally gets 1 hour less of sleep. And then we jump the other way, everything goes down by just about the same amount. Just from 1 hour across the board, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. All right, so then nutrition, much harder piece to tackle. Absolutely necessary to tackle.
Definitely.
So what did your nutrition look like before you decided to take it a little more seriously?
Before CrossFit, I ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I played sports my whole life and just ate whatever, anything, whatever I wanted, and I stayed the same.
And I feel like people our age, mid-30s and older, kind of grew up, it's like the internet's new. And now all the information is very easily accessible. But when we were growing up, it's like even the things people thought were healthy, we now know aren't healthy.
Oh, yeah.
And so even if you were trying to eat healthy growing up, you were probably not eating healthy.
Not at all.
And so it's just kind of what most of our histories look like.
Yeah.
But now we know better.
Definitely. I remember eating before a volleyball game some flaming hot Cheetos that my mom packed and 2 Reese's cups.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, it's so good. I would die now, but I'm like, these kids these days are fortunate to have the internet and have these resources. I mean, it's obviously that those things are not healthy, but I feel like no one cared then.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't as obvious, because back then they kind of knew healthy versus not healthy, but the general consensus was calories in versus calories out, and we know that that's not the even close to the whole story. A lot of people still think that's the game, and it's like that's not the game, at all. But if you have that mindset of calories in versus calories out, and we give tiny April Cheetos and Reese's, it's like, well, she's skinny, so she's burning more calories than she's eating. She's fine.
Right.
And it's like, but it's about micronutrients. It's about macronutrients. There's just a lot going on there.
Yeah. So when I first started CrossFit, I ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, and nothing happened. I started doing CrossFit, loved it. Nothing happened to my body. I guess I wanted to lose weight, but I don't know, it was fun, and I was kind of like, I hope I lose weight, but if I don't, I'm not
there's
I'm
more,
okay.
You're exercising, you found a more fun way to exercise.
Yeah, and I was exercising, I was running and stuff, and this was way better than running, but nothing happened. 6 months in, I'm like, I look exactly the same. So I went to the guy who owned the gym, and I'm like, CrossFit doesn't work.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, how are you eating? And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you have to eat healthy. And I'm like, but I'm doing CrossFit's really hard.
Yeah.
And he was like, cool.
I'm burning so many calories doing
and
CrossFit.
I was serious. And this was at the time, a long time ago, when paleo was real big. And he was like, you need to eat paleo. And I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah.
And he was like, you can't eat cheeseburgers and exercise and expect anything to change. And I really was like, okay, what? I didn't believe him. So I Google paleo, and I'm like, well, this doesn't sound like cheeseburgers, like what I'm used to. So I think I did a challenge or some kind of 30 days paleo.
Yeah.
But what happened with that is I started to cook the most easy, learned eggs and had a crock pot, and so I ate crock pot chicken and eggs, which is not balanced, but it was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
From ordering takeout and whatever.
And that's kind of what we're seeing now with the carnivore diet.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest thing in the world.
Yeah,
but
stupid.
At the same time, if you take someone from eating fast food and crap and you get them to only eat meat, and then they figure out how to get quality meat around them for every meal, then all we have to do is add in some nuts and seeds, vegetables, and some fruit, and now they're eating a perfect diet.
Yeah, well, this is exactly what happened to me. Is I lost 35 pounds in 30 days because I wasn't eating all this garbage. Inflammation was probably down a little. Started drinking water, stopped drinking Dr. Pepper, and so then I lost all this weight, and now I'm so skinny, probably just as unhealthy maybe, no muscle, but very small, and I'm like, well, okay, so food is important, cool, and I looked like I used to look before I went to grad school and gained the weight, and I'm like, okay, great, and so it just exactly what you said, it kind of made this evolution of maybe I should learn how to cook some vegetables. And I don't love eating vegetables, or I didn't love eating vegetables, so I learned, I know that sweet potatoes are not a vegetable, but I learned sweet potatoes, and I learned cauliflower. And I was like, okay. And so that's what I ate at first, and green beans or something. And I ate those things, and then I started to feel better. Because I didn't really feel great. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't sure
now
why.
You're getting the extra micronutrients that come in the vegetables. And your brain lights up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. And I'm always learning. I mean, I'm still learning about how to eat. But I started eating vegetables. I started eating fruit. I would limit the crap I ate, you know, to a couple times a week, limit the alcohol, and then it just sort of like all started making sense. And I don't eat perfect and I don't know everything, but it's like it's just like after sleep, it's the next most important thing. You can't get by being healthy.
And what we know is we could line up our members, and if you took a group of people that didn't know anybody in the gym, there's no way that they could say who the best performers are. They could not say who the fittest performance-wise are,
right, based
on body composition.
No.
But you can say who has the best nutrition, sleep, lifestyle habits based on body composition.
Definitely. And that's a lot of times what I think about when we have out-of-town travelers. People are like, that person is awesome at CrossFit. And I'm like, no, hold on. That person eats really well.
Yeah.
Because
and
they
probably sleeps.
And they probably get enough sleep, but they eat great because their muscles they have a great body. But that has nothing to do with their performance or their skills or anything.
Sleep, nutrition, CrossFit make ridiculously good-looking bodies.
Yeah, for sure.
CrossFit alone does not.
No.
Nutrition alone does not. Sleep alone does not. It's just like, but them combined is crazy. And then what we make fun of the drop-ins for is their plateaued performance and the injuries they're always dealing. And they all cut corners because it's all about, so they're shortchanging their reps, and it's just hard to watch.
Yeah.
But I know for me those are my biggest things, and I attacked nutrition first, or it was CrossFit first, and then when I was working out hard and wasn't getting the results that I thought I deserved, nutrition, and then things really started to turn around, and then once I added sleep, it was instant, and they're just like, oh, doofus.
Yeah. So how was your diet before your diet now?
You set me up for that one. And I might have talked about this before, but complete fast food.
Okay.
Growing up through college, post-college, complete fast food Red Bulls.
Ooh, Red Bull.
Like I lose a credit card in college, probably at a bar, because I'm an idiot, and the credit card company would call, I just need to verify the last charges were yours, and it'd be like Whataburger, KFC, Taco Bell, Taco Cabana, Sonic. So I just had I'd wake up and my breakfast was cereal, and I thought I was super healthy because there's Special K, and it had those freeze-dried strawberries, milk. Turns out I'm very sensitive to dairy, so I was just pounding milk all the time. Cereal's just terrible for you. And then all of my meals were, I'm going to go to Chipotle, and I'm going to be proud of this burrito I can put down. And it was stupid. I was proud.
Yeah.
I was like this skinny fat person, and I was proud. It's like, look, I'm skinny and I can put down this burrito. And how was I proud about that? But so what ultimately got me to change is I started working out, still eating like that. And then not getting any body changes. Clearly the weights I was moving and what I was capable of was changing, and it was just like what's going on?
Like, it's not fair.
It's not fair. It's like, what am I doing wrong? T-Nation, bodybuilding. T-Nation. I had found CrossFit, so it's like a CrossFit journal, everything. It's just like, and then it's like genetics.
Yeah.
Oof, it's genetics.
Yeah.
I'm not meant to be. I can't. I'm a hard gainer.
Right.
I'm just a hard gainer. And it's like, no, that's all crap. Found, at the time, it was MyFitFoods. I don't know if they had a weird thing go on where, employees showed up and the store was closed. Anyway, but found MyFitFoods, and so now I had fast food that was healthy pre-made meals, switched over to that, and I lost 20 pounds, and I hate telling this to people because it makes it seem like this is normal, but I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks to a month.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
And it was absolutely crazy. And then, I found Snap Kitchen, which is, I eat a lot of Snap Kitchen now. I started meal prepping more often, and now I'm kind of doing a mix of snap kitchen with meal prepped to kind of supplement the size of their meals, just with the amount of working out we do. I eat a lot. But yeah, it changed everything. But then ultimately, it changed everything, how I felt, how I performed, lost weight. And it wasn't until I added in that sleep component that it was just like, oh, here we go. It's like, and if someone would have grabbed me by my cheeks and shook me, 10 years ago, no telling where I'd be today.
Yeah, just while you were saying that, I just had this thought of like, if that first CrossFit would have just given me like, a big resource of like, you should do this and then I was like, oh, well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
You should do this and you should
exactly.
do this. Which is like.
And so that's what drives us crazy, and what gets us on these rants all the time is we've got all of our members and we know what they have to do and what they should do. And it's not like, oh, you're overweight, you should do this. It's like, we don't care if you're overweight. If you're overweight and you're telling us you're unhappy with being overweight, here's what you do. We know how to do it. But everyone, and I think it's natural, everyone, even though they know they got to do this, they pick one thing, and they're like, I'm going to do the one thing that uproots my life the least amount, and it's like, maybe for me, this is going to be the answer. Yeah. And then 6 months, nothing's changed. So they're like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to add in the next. It's like, you just got to do it. Yeah. And the easiest one to do is sleep. So tonight, start it now. It's not cool to not sleep. You're literally killing yourself. You're not getting the performance gains you're looking for. Your body's not looking the way. You're struggling with loneliness. It's just like, it's crazy how much sleep matters. It's the easiest one to do that. And then go all in with nutrition, because, and I'm sure you had the same experience, changing was really hard. It was really hard for 2 weeks, and then it was hard for maybe 3 months. And what I found the hardest part is like your friends haven't accepted your thing, and they're just, and it makes them feel bad. Yeah, so they want you to. Yeah, so there's this really weird dynamic that lasts for maybe the first year of your friends trying to, because it makes them, even if you're not talking about it, mentioning it, saying anything, just them watching you not order the burger and order something else makes them feel bad about themselves. Right. So it's like that's hard. You really have to know why you're doing it yourself, and that like, why would I eat unhealthy just to make them feel better? This is crazy. But 2 weeks for me was really hard. 6 months was like hard-ish, and then it's been a cakewalk. Yeah. For the last 5 years. Yeah. I'm constantly making changes to what I eat, but the initial change from, I remember I took it real slow, and I went from like 3 Dr. Peppers a day to 1 Dr. Pepper a day. And I remember I was like, I can't live like this. I just can't. Yeah. And then I lived like that, and it was fine. And then, after a few weeks, you forget that was even a thing. Like you can't imagine living without it. Oh, and then once you've lived without it for just a little bit of time, you don't care. Then I went from 1 to 0, and it was the same thing. But now it's like Dr. Pepper, like. Ugh. Yeah. And Flaming Hot Cheetos I used to eat all the time. And it's like, oh, it makes my stomach hurt. Yeah. And just thinking about what is that food even made of, I wouldn't imagine putting that in my body. And I'm tweaking things that I eat now, but it's like not the same, I feel, as what I was eating before. Yeah. Like a bean and cheese burrito, beans and cheese and a big tortilla. Yeah. Like 2 of them. Yeah. And a Dr. Pepper. And that's like what you eat for lunch. And then you're expected to go to work and like think about stuff. Yeah, actually do something and not just be like, oh. And it's like, and everyone's like, I'm so tired all the time. It's like, well, no crap. You're inflamed and, you just don't have the nutrients you need. Yeah. You couldn't pay me to eat a bean and cheese burrito. Yeah. And so that's the funny thing is, same here. The way you look at it is different once it's been removed. So it's hard to imagine your life without something.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that, at this point, I've relearned it so many times, it's been reinforced so many times that I'll look at it differently, like a month from now. And so even if I can't imagine, now I'm just like, well, I know I can, and I'm going to, so here we go. And then sure enough, you look back on it, and it's just like, oh yeah, I don't care about that anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, but in the moment, it's like giving up cheese was hard for me. And it's like, I have it on everything. I have it on this. I have it on this. It's as a snack. It's like, I can't give it up. A month out, you're just like, oh yeah, I don't need cheese.
So I just recently quit afternoon coffee.
Yeah. That was a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Multiple conversations.
Multiple. So I love.
But let's talk about why you quit it.
I quit
afternoon.
I think
that's interesting.
So I quit afternoon coffee because I found myself not being able to sleep through the night. I would be very.
Because you could fall asleep.
I could fall asleep, and then I would wake up 6 or 7 times a night. I'd wake up, and then I would be like, well, I have to go to the bathroom, and I'd go to the bathroom, and it's this whole cycle of like being awake all night. I would feel horrible, and I would be exhausted, and this would keep going. And it was like, I should be sleeping through the night. I'm eating right, and this doesn't make any sense. Something's wrong. And I knew deep
and
down.
That's how it always is. We always know, and it takes someone to be like, it's this, and then you're like, I know that.
Yeah, someone pointed it out and was like, you drink coffee in the afternoon, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, damn it. So I love coffee so much. I love the taste. I love the ritual of it. It's 100% an addiction. I think about it outside of when I don't have coffee.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of willpower to like admit to myself that I cannot have any more afternoon coffee. So I prepared myself for like 2 weeks, and I'm like, in 2 weeks I'm quitting coffee.
Yeah.
I still have it in the morning for those reasons. And that might be something that comes next, but like the most pressing thing was I have to be able to sleep at night. So I'll drink coffee right when I wake up, 1 cup, and that's it. But during that process of getting rid of coffee, it was like absolutely miserable, and I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
I usually would fill up my thing, get a coffee on the way to work, and drink it, and it was so good. And then like the day that I couldn't get it, I was just like, I don't even have a coffee. Like I don't even want to go.
It's like, what am I gonna do? And then I'm sure, and you can say if this is true or not, but I'm sure the first few days were terrible.
Horrible. It was like, I don't care. I don't care about sleep anymore. I just want coffee.
Yeah.
It was so bad. I would drink coffee at like 6 p.m. And of course I really would fall asleep, but then I'd wake up a bunch. So the first couple of days were horrible. I thought my life was over. How am I ever going to live? And this was like 2 or 3 months, 3 months ago or something. The thing that happened though was like the second day, I slept so good. I mean, I woke up and I was like, oh my God, it's 6.
It's like I did.
And I am in the same spot. And I was like, okay, cool. And that was motivation. I'm like, okay. It still sucked, like, not doing it. Now, I went on vacation with my family, and my mom was drinking she would make an iced coffee each afternoon. And I cut myself off at 2, and I was like, ooh, I can't. It's after 2. And she was like, what? And even I was like, yeah, I can't do it because I don't even care that I'm on vacation, but I'm gonna wake up 5 times.
Yeah,
and I don't want.
It's not worth. And once you finally figure it out, and you can start seeing what it does, then it makes it so. But it's still hard.
Oh yeah.
But it makes it easy to understand why you've decided on like the rule of no coffee after 2.
Yeah.
And my rule is no coffee for me is no coffee after noon. But coffee affects everyone differently.
And noon is like real life. 2 was vacation. I was like, oh, I could probably stay up till like 11. It's fine, whatever. Yeah. And sleep in and stuff. But yeah.
And then looking back on it now, like, is that one of the best decisions you've ever made?
Ever, because now I sleep. I might wake up like a normal person, like in I think after reading about sleep, and like you wake up, it's possible to wake up after each REM cycle, and so that's kind of normal. And so I'll wake up still, or if like the dog makes a noise, I'll wake up and then I'll go back to sleep, but I'm not like awake. It's so different. It's the best thing I've done lately.
And that's a great example of, because especially with coffee, because it's so easy to relate to. I cannot imagine my life without doing this thing.
I could not imagine, and I don't know where I picked it up, but
because so it's a positive feedback
well,
loop.
yeah.
You get a bad night of sleep. You have coffee in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you have a bad night of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You need coffee in the afternoon. Bad night. So it's so easy for it to happen to somebody.
It is very easy, because that's why I was like, well, I can't quit because I have to stay awake today.
So you had the bad night of sleep, and then you come up, and when you typically had coffee, you had to have a bad day.
Yeah.
So you could have a good night of sleep,
Yeah.
and now you're past it.
Yeah, so it's fine.
But it's so because you just have to go for it.
Yeah, best thing.
Especially there's so many things that I know in my life. There's so many. I'm sure everybody does. It's like the thing you need to change.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just change it, because just one little change can have the biggest snowballing effect.
Oh,
As soon as you make one change and you see how big of an impact it is, it makes it so much easier to grab the other things.
Mm-hmm.
So something I use a lot are just rules.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this the other day, is you want strong Kyle and strong April, who has their head on their shoulders, who's well fed, rested, to decide the lifestyle of worn out, hungry, upset Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so the only way, or what works really well with me, is I come up with rules. And I don't have coffee after noon. And I know when I'm pissed off Kyle, I know his only job, he doesn't make decisions. He just follows the rules.
Right.
And it's like, I don't care how terrible I think that rule is right now. I know, and if I think it's terrible, I follow it, and then when I'm doing better, I revisit it, and I'm like, is this realistic? Is this in line with what I want my life and my goals to be?
Yeah.
Do I need to make any changes to it? But you just follow it.
Yeah. That's how I approach eating, is I pick out what I'm going to eat the next day, and I eat it. No matter what.
No matter what.
And if I don't pick anything out, then something has gone wrong in my life, in my system. So, or if I deviate from that for any reason, then I shouldn't. But then you have to deal with the, disappointing yourself of, I've gone against what I was supposed to do. But it makes life so much easier if I'm now that Transform is happening, I'm tracking it. But even before then, I was like, tomorrow I'm going to have this, this, and this.
Yeah. And
I'm a little bit neurotic with exactly what I'm going to do. And then sometimes I'll have someone be like, oh, do you want to have lunch? And I'm like, oh, but I was already going to eat this other thing. And then I have to reevaluate everything. But that has saved me from so many, driving through to get something.
Yeah, that way when you're really hungry and at your lowest, you don't have to figure it out. It's like you've already figured it out. So when you're really hungry and at your lowest, you're like, I know I'm going there to get food.
Yeah, all I have to do
it's right here.
Is I'm really hungry, I'm at my lowest, I'm driving home to eat.
So would you say you have more willpower than the average person?
No, I do not have more willpower.
Me too.
Absolutely not.
So everyone looks at the way we live,
yeah.
and then they think that it's unattainable for them because they assume we have all this willpower, and it's not willpower. I don't have any willpower.
I'm weak mentally. I am not one of those people
if
that's
cookies are in the house, I'm eating
all of them.
cookies 100%.
I don't, no. I have set up these strategies for myself that I think...
When you're strong, you set up the strategies.
Yeah, and I do this after dinner now. I eat dinner, and then because of this challenge, I put it all in my app, and I'm like, this is what I'm having to eat.
Yeah.
And I'm full, and I'm ready for bed, and now I know what I'm eating all day tomorrow. Nobody invite me to lunch. This is what I'm having. And then I eat it. And then the next day, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm so hungry. And then I'm like, oh, cool. The task might now be to drive home or to go put it in the microwave.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to worry about.
But you know where it's coming from.
I know where it's coming from, and just knowing that at home I have this to cook and this to cook. Yeah, and I'm going to be like, I'm going to shower so fast today so I can cook really fast or whatever. That's now the problem versus I don't know what's for dinner.
Yeah.
If there was a time where I was like, I'm pretty hungry right now and I know what's happening next, if I didn't know what was for lunch,
Yeah.
I can't even. That like gives me a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, because then you get hungry, it's lunchtime, and now you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's a million options.
Well, I would go across the street and get potato salad.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm so hungry. But I won't.
So it's like rules, planning, setting up your environment.
Yeah.
That's the secret. And then even it's like you can go eat lunch with somebody, or dinner or wwhatever, but the best thing to do is get online.
Yeah.
When you're strong, look at their menu, figure out what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Because what happens if you don't do that is you get there, and now you're trying to look at a menu, you're trying to figure out, it's hard, but you're also trying to have a conversation with your friend. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting there trying to talk, trying to look at, trying to talk, trying to look at it, trying to talk, trying to look at it. You're hungry, and you're finally just like, you know what? I could just sit here and enjoy this conversation with my friend if I just get a burger.
Right.
And then you get a burger.
Yeah.
But if you knew coming in, and then you look at the menu, you're like, yeah, there's the thing I decided I was going to get.
And like burgers are passing by.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's the making the decisions when you're distracted and hungry and all the, that's hard. And that's what takes the willpower.
That sucks it. I have no self-control.
But to follow a previous decision.
Easy. I call the point of no return, and I've reached. There are times when I have poor plans, maybe, and it's all. I'm accountable for all of it. It could be I went on a trip and I got home late and I haven't been to the store. Yeah. And it's like, I did this to myself.
Yeah, you go to Burger King, and it's like, but if that happens once every year,
whatever,
no big deal.
But you reach the point of no return, and beyond the point of no return is Burger King. Yeah. And when you're like in a good state of mind, Burger King is the most disgusting thing.
But when you're hungry, you're like, this makes perfect sense.
I'm gonna get a Whopper and a Coke, and then it's like, what? Yeah. And you don't feel better. Ugh. Yeah. So planning is different than willpower. I do not have a lot of willpower.
Yeah. And then planning, it just takes creating the habit and getting in a routine of planning. Yeah. So it's like, and we do it differently. It sounds like you do it the night before. I do it the morning of, and I sit down and I look at my calendar. It's like, oh, here are the classes I'm coaching. Here are the personal training sessions or meetings I have. If I'm doing stuff with family, where am I getting my food? Yeah. And it's like, oh, I have this and this in the refrigerator already, or oh, I have nothing in the refrigerator. It's like, okay, well now I know I got to figure this out. I don't wait till, oh, I'm hungry. No. Oh, I don't have any food. What am I going to do? It's like, no, it's too late. Just figure it out. Yeah. And it's so easy. But you just have to have a routine and a habit of when you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Or that goes a really long way.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Success. Set yourself up for success.
Yeah. So, work out smarter. When you prioritize technique and recovery and go hard once a week, that makes you it makes the intensity of that workout even higher than if you try and go high intensity completely all the time. You can actually get better, not deal with injuries and pain all the time. If we had to pick one thing, sleep more and better and prioritize that. Nutrition is huge. 10,000 steps a day, doing mobility or just moving around, weird yoga stuff we do like in warm-ups, and just go all in. Like, don't dance around it. Don't be worried that, oh, I can't change this in my life. Just do it, because a month from making the change, you'll look back and be like, I can't believe it took me so long to do this. And then you're going to have everything you wanted.
And I feel like I felt the way that that people feel like I can't do it, I can't do it.
Oh, same here.
I really...
But people looking at you don't give you the credit. Yeah. And they're like, she's weird. She doesn't have the... Right. She didn't have to go through what I'm dealing with. It's like, yes, we did. Yeah. We've just figured it out because we've been dealing with it for so long. And that now we have it figured out, we want... just share it.
Yeah, and at no point do I look back and think, this sucks. I wish I was still eating movie theater popcorn at home by myself.
Yeah, or dealing with all these pains and injuries. And,
yeah, never. And the change is hard, but it's worth it. And no one, we don't have more special, like, powers or willpower or secret. Someone making us food.
Yeah.
I had to learn vegetables.
Yeah.
And...
yeah, we're not amazing cooks or something. It's just like...
I have, like, 5 things, not even 5, 3 things that I'm good at, and I just eat that all the time. And it's pretty good. Yeah.
So we've just taken the time to implement strategies that make things as easy as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't, at this point, I would say we are better at making change, but it's not because of anything inherent in us. It's because we've built up the experiences of overcoming and being like, oh, I changed that.
Yeah.
And I changed that. And I changed that. And so now we're at the point where it's like, oh, you want me to change something? Fine, I'll change something.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know it's going to be hard. I'm going to be fine.
Right.
And that's just experience. That's not, it's something everyone's got. They just haven't gotten there.
We are not gifted with it.
Yeah. Oof.
Make it easier, but.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I thought that was good.
Yeah.